My name is Nikiya Mathis. I am a wig designer and an actress. I started as an actress, and that's kind of how I journeyed into wig design, just because I felt a need, and my friends felt a need, and that's how I'm here.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you made that, transition? Like what need did you see and why did you feel called to address that?
Yeah, I started like doing hair just like randomly in high school. Like I would just do my own hair and then I would just do my friend's hair, but it wasn't anything major. I knew I was pursuing acting. I was not pursuing cosmetology. And then I got to
Mhm.
NYU grad acting, and we had costume designers, but we didn't have people who were doing our hair. And I remember actually we were doing a raisin in the sun, and I was beneath at one time, and this totally a sidebar, but they said that I needed to like cut my hair, and I was so scared, and I was like, wait, what is going on? And I remember talking to a mentor, and she was like, they need to give you a wig. So, I think that's
Mhm.
also the thing, like, in these conservatory programs, it, oftentimes you're at the whim of uh, whatever they say. And if they don't have an understanding about natural hair, black hair, or just how closely connected your hair is to your identity, then
Mhm.
so much hurt has taken place. I just know people who have had to shave their heads, cut, hair that they've grown, and trauma has happened in the name of art. But,
Yeah.
I digress. So I would be doing white my white classmates' hair. I would be doing my black classmates' hair. And I was just wondering, like, where is the hair person? Why? And then I just started thinking, oh, could I be that? Like, I was like, I want to help people, and I want to do this in some capacity, because I felt like there was some level of purpose starting to trickle. And then I
Mhm.
got out of NYU and went into the professional world and went to these theaters, and they had nobody to do our hair, and these were professional productions. Like, so I found
Mhm.
myself doing my castmates hair in the professional world. And then my acting friends, like black actors I knew, who kind of knew that I was good with my own hair or people's hair, would say, hey, like, I'm the only black girl in this production and they don't know what they're doing with my hair. Can I give them your name? Or can I come to you for you to do my hair? Is the theater paying for it? No, I'm just paying for it because, like, I just am not going to be looking crazy. Like, I have to figure it out for
Yeah.
myself. I think that's
Yeah.
the hurtful thing. Like, when you hired to do one job, oftentimes you're not even paid enough for that one job. But then you're
Mhm.
doing somebody else's job, and you have to do it to survive, for your own pride, so you don't walk onto the stage looking like they have had us looking for a long time. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's ultimately what happened. Like, it just kind of it snowballed over the years, and I think, one thing led to another. One person knew who I was, then the next person, and then I started getting like offers, small offers to like design, or to come in and consult, and then like
Mhm.
it continued like that.
Oh, I love this. I tell people all the time there's so many ways to be involved in the theater industry and we need representation in so many different areas. And
Yeah.
I personally remember hearing you speak at the Obie Awards, and I literally, as you were giving your acceptance speech, I was tearing up because
Oh,
hair is such a personal thing for
yes.
people, for
Yes.
Black women especially, considering the
Yes.
history and considering, I think about all the times that I was sitting between, my auntie's legs as she was doing my
Yeah,
hair,
that's
or my
right.
grandmama, and like what those memories are to me. And so I think about, my own theater experiences, and I can count on my hand how many times someone actually knew what they were doing with my hair, or let alone other things, right? Like there
Girl.
was a time where I was sitting at my dressing station and someone from the sound team came in and gave me a mic, and it actually matched my skin color. And I took a moment to myself and I got really emotional, and I was like, oh my God,
Yes.
like I have a mic that looks like me. And upon reflection on that, I was like, wow, I was getting emotional about what should be the standard, because that is the
Listen.
standard.
Exactly. It should be the
Like, you know what
standard.
I mean? That is the standard
The
of what should be
standard.
happening. But because it doesn't happen often, I think a lot of times, especially for Black people in this industry, we are often surprised when we have the things that we should have automatically.
Yes, absolutely. We are, in a house that's not been built for us. And I think we're used to, pushing the walls, trying to make the wall, or, dampening down, trying to make ourselves smaller. And it's just become the status quo. You just know,
Yeah.
okay, when I get into this play, it's likely I'm gonna have to, figure it out. Okay, I'm just grateful to book the job and
Uh
I'll
huh.
figure out the rest. And it shouldn't be like that. And I think the
No.
other thing in terms of you getting emotional is because like also we also are dealing with so many other micro and macro aggressions in being Black
Hmm.
people in America. So like
Yep.
so walking into a theater and not, and somebody giving you the wrong color tape, or, saying your hair is not enough, or you seeing the white actor gets a treatment that you don't get, all
Hmm.
hits. But because like we've learned to be strong, we just keep going, and we don't even always realize like how vulnerable and how hurt we really are until we like actually sit with it. So I feel you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it definitely it's a process that I think does something to us as human beings that
Yes.
we have to be extremely mindful of because it can
Yeah.
make you bitter, it can make you angry, and it can ultimately affect how you are as a creative, as an artist, and how you show up in these
100%.
spaces. I just have to say I'm so grateful for you and your work, and I can't wait till the day you get to do my hair
Oh my
because it's the way I'm going
god.
to be living.
I can't wait. No, definitely.
So speaking of hair and speaking of Jajas, I have been out of the city for the past few weeks, and so I
Um,
hadn't had a chance to see it. And so as soon as I got back, I was like, I have to see
oh my
Jaja's apron
god.
hair braiding.
Yes.
Like, have to see it. It is mandatory, mandatory viewing. And so I took one of my friends with me, and we were both very excited because she hadn't seen the production
Oh,
either. And I
cool.
think the thing that was so special for us is that we walked into that theater and we both had braids in our hair, and we were seeing all of the braiding that was going on and all of the different hairstyles. And we are not used to seeing that kind of representation on a Broadway stage. And so could you just talk to me a little bit about what it was like to design that show and work on that show? And I know that there was I don't know what it was called, but I remember seeing some promo where there were all of these different women that were getting their hair done prior to the show opening. Could you just tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about the creative process?
Oh my god. Like it was so great. It's interesting because like Jaja's came on the heels of me doing a prior show that was absolutely opposite. I had a horrible time. I was the only
Mhm.
designer of color, and the way I was treated was not poorly, let's say.
Mhm.
Not listened to, not given the support, or had to fight for the support that I needed. And
Mhm.
I felt like I was burned out and wanted to like stop and just I can't, if this is Broadway, I don't need it. Y'all can have y'all Broadway. If y'all wanted to look the way
Listen.
you needed to look, go on. Cause like I know I'm gonna
Right.
be good. That's y'all identity, not mine.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
to walk into so I was tired. And
Mhm.
then walking into Jaja to have like Whitney White on a production meeting say, listen, we can do this show in a black box with no nothing, but we need these wigs, we need the hair. That was the first time anybody has said that, because when I'm in production meetings, usually the hierarchy is set. Like they're gonna talk to the set
Mhm.
designer first, lighting, sound, et cetera, then costumes, then I like to say when the money has run out, then they come to hair and wigs. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm really not thought about. There have been some production meetings I've been at, and they haven't
Mhm.
even said, "Hey, Nikiya, what are you thinking?" Um, because that's how low on the list hair is. So it is not. Uh, it makes sense that then hair for Black women is even like tucked away under that. Um, but
Right.
but yeah, Jocelyn and Whitney set the standard, and they set a tone that just kind of made me feel, just it validated something on the inside of me, and something that I just needed personally as an artist in terms of like a remembrance of my worth and what this show
Mhm.
is about. Like,
Mhm.
you can't do this show and then this show can't be performative. Now it could be.
Right.
There are a lot of places that would make it performative, but if you're gonna do
Mhm.
this, if you're gonna talk about Black women's hair, you got to put your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
So it was awesome. So MTC was great. I'm
Mhm.
sure like in all producing spaces, money is a thing, but I felt
Mhm.
very welcome. So I was in MTC studios. The actors were rehearsing across the hall. MTC gave me a space right across the hall from them to like work on wigs, and we were also doing braiding classes. So the
Mm.
actors would leave rehearsal or have like a chunk of time in the day and come over, and we would have mannequins set up. We would have the braiding hair set up for them to learn to. If you can't braid, we're gonna start with box braid. Well, actually we started with parting. Can you part? All right, this is how you use a rat tail comb. This is
Mhm.
edge control and braid gel. And then we had Hair by Susie come, because she's a, of course, great influencer and just an icon herself. So it was myself and my team. It was a mix of all of us working to help
Mhm.
people like learn to braid. And it was just fun.
Yes.
Whitney and Jocelyn would come over and like do some braiding and then leave. Like it was just like it was fun. It was Black. It was
Mhm.
community. It was what
Yes.
theater our theater should be, because that's what
Mhm.
our spaces usually are: community and love and support.
Yeah.
um so that was great, and it allowed us all to bond. So like after rehearsals, actors would just pop in across the hall, like, it's like, what y'all doing, it was just
Mhm.
so awesome. So I was working on and in the midst of like working on building the wigs, I was trying to figure out how in the world are we going to figure out these micro braids, because like there had to
Mhm.
be, of course, a magic and a construction to how they were going to be done. So like
Mhm.
I had an idea of what it was going to be, but then I had to, create the prototype. And then that was some
Yeah.
trial and error, like even in that, like, oh, okay, this is okay, boom, we did that. You got to undo that, because it's not giving exactly what it needs to give. So it was just a lot of like being in the lab. And even like when I think about Vanessa, the customer who comes in and falls asleep and doesn't leave, like
Mhm.
I didn't really. She was even more so than the the micro braids probably took the longest because there are so many
Mhm.
micro braids, but that construction was. I was like, I don't know how, because there was part of me that was like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe she's gonna leave the stage, or maybe it's gonna be blocked a certain way. And when I went to like the final run through, and she was on that stage, and I looked at Whitney like, oh, she gonna be on this. Okay, like, okay. So in that moment, I was like, hey, Whitney, hey, Jocelyn, I realize we're gonna have to do this a different way. I realize what way it is. Boom. I'm walking out like, okay, cool, cool. I
Yeah.
got a plan. I got in that room. I ain't have no plan. Like I knew what it was gonna have to be, but I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know how this is going to happen. How
Yeah.
and I was stressed out. Like this was like close to tech. And like it was that day. I think tech was maybe, if that was the run through, like tech was maybe a day or two after that. And
Mhm.
or maybe a few more days. But I went home that night or that weekend, and I was just like, okay, I had the wig block, I had the hair, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to just trial and error this and see what works. And then I did it on
Yeah.
my own, but then I'm like, well, it's gonna be different on the person's head. So we got to tech that first day that we worked on it, and it didn't work. Like, or at least with the act,
Mhm.
because it's choreography and magic. I'm setting up the magic, but the actor has to
Mhm.
execute it. And
Right.
Aminata, who was Nana, it just seemed like to me that she just was like, this is too much. I was like, and I just got in my head like, oh my God, this is not gonna work. Cause I was already paranoid. And then I think the day ended and I went home and I looked at it again. And then I came back the next day and Whitney's like, okay, we're gonna work on this scene. And I walked up and I was like, Whitney, like, I know it didn't work. You know, she didn't even let me finish. She was like, girl, we only did it one time. I was like, okay, so then they did it and it worked. And I was like, like, okay,
Yes.
please let this work again. And it did. And like it was awesome. It was awesome. And I think, there was just
Yeah.
also something that I learned about, number one, about being an artist, but being a Black woman
Mhm.
in this space, but I can imagine in all spaces, you don't we don't get opportunities to fail, right? If we don't
Mhm.
do well, not saying and that wasn't the case in that environment because Jocelyn and Whitney, we was all in this together. So they gave me opportunities to fail. But like in the larger
Mhm.
scheme of things, like the eyes that would be on it, we just don't get a lot of opportunities to fail or for people
Yeah.
or to fail and fail safely and for people to say, "Oh, that didn't go well, but here you get another opportunity." So like
Right.
it always feels like pressure. And but
Yes.
in addition to that, for me, I wanted so bad to get this right for us. Like
Yeah.
when Jocelyn said, "I'm doing Jaja's African hair braid," I had learned about it maybe a couple years before, and in the back of my mind I was like,
Mhm.
please ask me to do it because it just sounded fun. It sounded like everything
Yes.
I had ever wanted to do for us
Mhm.
and just be a part of. And then when I got offered, I was excited. I will definitely say that I did not realize. I was excited like, oh yeah, it's gonna be micro braids, it's gonna be box braids, but girl, I did not realize what I had signed up for. Like it's like,
Listen.
okay, when you actually have to do it,
Mhm.
that's a different story. But it's awesome because I feel like there have been so many times when I've like been like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do something? And then you get to the other
Mhm.
side of it and be like, thank you, God. I know you always knew. I just didn't know, and I think so much of it is a faith walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much of life in general. But I'll say like, the awesome thing is even though I had that nervousness inside me, I never felt like Jocelyn or Whitney doubted me. Like when I
Mhm.
say it was a safe space, I never felt like the actors doubted me. Like
Mm.
everybody knew it was gonna be hard for all of us. And like the love that I would get, them coming in, oh my God, like just it was love. It was never like, I hope it was none of that. Um, and I'm grateful for. I think it'll be hard to top this experience because
Yeah.
this is what I wish for all Black artists in theater. And we got some,
Yeah.
amazing stuff coming up, like Soul Train is coming in, and I imagine it was like that because that is an all Black team. Like this,
Mhm.
we need more. We need more of that.
Yes, we do for sure. I just have to tell you that I was so like beyond impressed with how the wigs transformed throughout the show. I was like,
Mm.
I believe this.
Oh,
Like this braiding
awesome.
is happening. Like,
Yes.
and it was also just a really great experience to see this show, like I said, with one of my friends, and for us to be looking at all of these different people and to be able to associate them with someone that we've seen when we've been in the salon or that we have
Yes.
experienced.
Yes.
I I literally I cried the whole time. But I will say that there
Aw.
was one time when I can't think of the character's name when she comes in and she goes to sleep.
Yeah,
Um
Vanessa.
yes, Vanessa. So like when she comes in and she goes to sleep, something about that was really moving to me because obviously she shouldn't have been
Mm.
acting like that. She was really just doing too much. She was doing the most.
Exactly.
Doing the most. But how moving was it for her to have a place where she could go to sleep and could be surrounded by community and still be taken care of despite how she was acting? Because her braider knew, look, what she's doing is not even about me. What's going on in
Absolutely.
her life has something to do with someone else, other people, but she has a space right now. And obviously she wanted her to be sleep so she would stop talking and all
Exactly.
that, right? But also I just felt like deep inside she could have known that like she needs this right now. I
Yeah.
have seen braiders like braid women's hair who are pregnant and they can't sit up, so they will have them laying down. And the way
Yes.
that we care for each other in a hair salon, the conversations that we often have in hair salons when we're getting our hair done. I mean, I've told my braider things that like I haven't told many people.
Exactly. Exactly. Tell me about
So
it.
to see that was really moving because you know the salons in a lot of ways are like churches for black women. Like
Yes.
we spend
Yes.
so much time in community with one another and
Mm-hmm.
talking about things. It's just like the barbershop for black men is kind of their sanctuary in a way. I feel like
Yeah.
salons in a way are sanctuaries for us. And so to see that in such a way that felt so real, like I felt like
Yes.
I was literally at the salon. So I think
Yes.
this production was wildly successful for so many different reasons. And I think that the live streaming that is happening this week is also really incredible because it gives people access who may not be
Yes.
able to, travel to New York or who just live in different areas or they couldn't
Yes.
get, to the theater for one reason or another. I love that this is something that's going to become more accessible to people.
Yes.
I also just wanted to say that as I was watching the show, I was at like a Wednesday matinee. And so
Okay.
there were like maybe five other black women all on the same row with me. But in general, in my area, it felt like I was surrounded by quite a few people who were white. And,
Mm.
we're all enjoying the show, we're laughing. And in my head, I'm like, the reasons I'm laughing are not the reasons you're laughing. You don't
Exactly.
get it. You don't know.
You
Like,
don't know.
it's a different experience. You don't know
Yes.
what's happening right now. And
Yes.
like, my friend and I, as we were leaving the theater, we were literally in tears and we were crying. And like, people were looking at us like, why are they crying? Like, why? Like, and I'm like, how often do you see yourself on stage versus how often do I see myself or
Yeah.
see my
Listen.
experiences? You know?
Listen. You know what?
Yeah.
That's why I Jocelyn wrote this play based on an experience that she had, but also, because she so beautifully has the connection between her African roots and her African American upbringing that
Mm-hmm.
is so beautiful and something that, African Americans don't usually have. And I think this play, it really just, like, I feel like connects women of the African diaspora in such an amazing way. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it reminds us of our connection to the quote motherland, like to who we
Yeah.
really are, but we have lost it. Like to actually see
Mm-hmm.
these African women take care of these African American women who are in essence their granddaughters. Like,
Yeah.
like I think what you're saying is like that's why Aminata could hold a space for Vanessa. Whereas if Vanessa walked into a white establishment, oh no, 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 she would have been escorted
Right.
out, police call, whatever. But
Literally.
yes, as black women, as black people, we hold space for each other's errors, for each other's
Mm-hmm.
bad behavior, because we know,
Mm-hmm.
like we know we have to have grace for people because that could have been us on another day.
Right.
Like I think that's the beauty of what you're saying. And I think in terms of what you're saying about being able to see yourself or know the expression, like I'm grateful for it too, because Broadway, like there should not be a space where Broadway allows us to be like puppets. Sure, we'll take black
Mm-hmm.
actors and throw them in the front and drop them into a classical white play and think we're doing something, right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
have these a sea of actors on stage and not take care of their hair backstage or not treat them
Right.
fairly. Like it's not okay. Like if Broadway is going to, they can't just talk about it, they need to be about it the same way they
Yes.
said they were going to do in the pandemic, when we
Mm-hmm.
talked about
Yeah.
dear white American theater, but a lot of times it does feel like it is business as usual. And I think we have to
Mm-hmm.
keep bucking. I'm grateful that black people or people in general have come to the show and said, no, I'm gonna come. We love this. We want this kind of story told. Like it is showing that our stories can make money. and that we
Yes.
appreciate seeing ourselves, but also like seeing ourselves truly. Like it was important for me to, I really was like, I want to do Black women right. I don't want to have hairstyles on stage where it's like, in reality, she would not want to come out of the salon looking like that. Like, how do
Right.
we make sure these box braids are box braiding and not just
Yes.
random, braids coming out of a bush, like all of those things. And I
Right.
think, like, even still, my personal artist self still has like things I want to tweak. And I had to just say,
Mhm.
listen, girl, sat down. Like you're gonna have to like let it go. That's something. But I'm grateful that like you could be there and see yourself. Like that really makes me proud because like I feel like we did this for us. Like all of
Yes.
the acclaim I think is gotten has been like we wanted it, but like you never know. Like you could know,
Right.
right? You could know that something is special or feel like something is special, but when it goes out into the world, people are like, "Oh my God, what is that?" But
Right.
either way, we tried our best to make sure we represent it for us. And I think,
Yes.
to know that we at least appreciate it, like is really like it warms my heart.
Yes. And I know that the two of us know this, but Black stories are relatable. I think that sometimes, this industry is like, oh, well, no one will get it. And yes, there is an element of people may not understand it from the level that I do because this is something that is reflecting my lived
That's
experience
right.
or
That's
someone
right.
else's lived
That's
experiences.
right.
But guess what? Just like you watch, whatever TV show or film about Black people and their lives, Black theater is also relatable and people will also
Absolutely.
enjoy it. I don't know why that is such a hard concept for people to really embrace. And if we only look at, of course, this entire industry is driven by money. And so if we're only looking
Mhm.
at, things as successful because, tickets sold, I'm like, how are we marketing it? How are
Yeah.
we talking about this?
Well
Are we getting out into the community and talking about these shows with the people who need to see this?
there you have it right there. I think you're absolutely right. We'll talk about the failure of a show, but did you give this show all that you've given to these other shows with white faces on it?
Mm-hmm.
And also the other thing about the nice thing about this is that I think Whitney and Jocelyn talked to MTC and said you have to market this differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like they did, to see
Yes.
so many New Yorkers like come, not
Yes.
just, the regular subscribers and not just the theater folks, but New
Right.
Yorkers were coming. Like, I was
Yes.
like, yes, and they were grateful to see their stories. Like, and of course, a lot of people said, I want a part two, but that's neither here nor there, but like,
Of course.
yeah, but I hope that this kind of sets the standard for or helps to set a standard for um plays, especially ones that don't have a a star in them. Of course we have
Mhm.
Dominique Thorne who's amazing, but she's just up and coming. She's not
Mhm.
necessarily someone everybody simply just knows off the bat and knows her name. And
Right.
for it to be as successful as this, I feel like really says something. We go to these shows that are about white life, and we as
Mhm.
Black people are expected to just appreciate it and treat it as the standard. But why
Right.
is it not the same? And even in graduate programs, so much of the
Mhm.
work is, okay, you're going to do Shakespeare, you're going to do Chekhov, you're going to do these works that were not
Right.
written for Black people, but you are going to expect Black people to be able to fit into a world that they would not have even been included in, or if they were, they would have been the slave, right? And you want us to
Right.
just, again, a house not built for us versus,
Right.
making, the work in totality. Make sure that as much as you're doing Shakespeare, you're doing August Wilson, or you're doing, whatever, a
Yes.
diverse array of authors so that everybody gets a full experience. And that's the
Yeah.
human experience. But
Yes,
I
very
digress.
much that.
Yeah.
No, no, that is such an important point because, I think back to when I saw Ain't No Mo on Broadway. And I remember the first time I saw the production, I was like, whoa, what is this here?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
had to go
yeah.
back. I was like, I need to see this again. I need to take
Yes.
that back in again.
Mhm.
And I remember seeing it the second time. And then shortly after that, I remember them getting the closing notice. And I'm like,
Yes.
I understand why a show like that did not do well in the current theater community because they don't understand it. And it's hard for people who don't understand something to get behind and to
That's
support
right.
it.
That's
But
right.
just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be there.
That's
There
exactly
needs to be
right.
space
That's
in the
exactly
commercial
right.
industry for these stories. And
Yeah.
that was like it was just unapologetically black. And I'm like, I want more of that. And I feel like I got that with Jaja's, and I'm hoping to get even
Awesome.
more of that in the coming seasons because,
Yes.
you know, I think about all the time for myself personally, I would have started theater earlier had I
Yeah.
had access to it.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
my high school was the first time that I was exposed to a school that had a fully developed arts curriculum.
Mhm.
And going to the theater even was not a practice that, my family and I participated in because that was the expensive things that you did when you had a little extra money.
Yes.
And even then, we didn't do it that often because it wasn't something that we really had access to. So when I finally started going, to theater, I was like, oh, wait, I like this a lot. And I started to, seek out those opportunities for myself. I want, children who are growing up in 2023 and beyond
Yeah.
to feel like they can, for one, have access to this industry, and not only have access but to see themselves represented and
That's
their
right.
experiences represented, because there are so many there's such a variety of experiences that are absent from the Broadway, as they say. And I
Yes.
think that if we really want to be doing the work that Broadway says it wants to do in terms of diversity and inclusion, the stories need to start looking differently,
That's
and they need to
right.
start being more representative.
That's right. I mean, what this piggybacking off what you're saying, we see a wide array of white American theater. Like we've seen you
Mm-hmm.
love, we've seen you hate, we've seen you, all of this. But like,
Yeah.
where is the diversity? And we've seen you succeed and fail and succeed
Mm-hmm.
again. Like, and you keep getting opportunities. Like, why is it
Right.
not the same? For Asian Americans or Native American, or
Right.
us. So yeah, it's about time. If what you
It's time.
said is true during the pandemic, during the Black Lives Matter movement, it's really time. And it's not just about throwing a show up to say you've done
Right.
it, because I feel like that
Right.
has happened as well. But really like
Mm-hmm.
putting all of your energy behind it.
Yes, because that will show that people actually really believe in it, and it's
That's
not
right.
just a performative move
That's right.
to make.
That's right.
So I fully agree with that. I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you: do you have any advice for black women when it comes to headshots? That is a question I get all the time. In my DMs, people always ask me, like, Kaisha, when you get your headshots done, do you do a shot with like your braids? Do you do a shot with straight hair? Do you do a shot with the afro? Like, what is kind of your policy, if you will, in terms of, what headshots you get taken? And then when you go into the audition room, does your hair always match your headshots? So do you have any like advice you can kind of share on that?
Yeah, I love this question. First of all, I'm actually about to do a panel workshop called Hairversations. This is something that I did like a few years ago, and I'm gonna like
Mm-hmm.
remount it, and it's gonna talk about like this very thing, just like hair. How you walk into the audition room, headshots, just like all of this, all of our hair questions. But yes, in terms of hair headshots, what I feel like now, and I think today is a little different than a few years ago, because what we're seeing on
Mm-hmm.
TV is more Black women showing up in their natural hair. But what I have
Mm-hmm.
learned is that in terms of a headshot, it needs to be ultimately how you mostly walk around in the world. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
somebody that rocks braids mostly, and it is likely that you are going to go into the audition room with some braids, get a headshot with braids. Like now
Mm-hmm.
I would say, in terms of getting alternative headshots, if you know that there is another look that you might do, or
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I like to do what I'm going to feel best in, what is going to
Mm-hmm.
be what hair, if it's a twist out, if it's braids, what I'm going to be as the most confident, whether it's in the photo or walking into the audition room in.
Yeah.
The thing about it's not a I think right now, I think before it was more of a, you need to do this, you need to have a straight and you need to have a curly, right?
Mhm.
I don't think it's that anymore, because everybody doesn't wear their hair straight or curly. Like, some people always have a protective style in. But what I would,
Right.
yeah, what I would offer is, in terms of determining what your look is and what you're going to audition for, that can be so many different things. Like, you might go in for a cop one day and decide to do, like I have done, a short pixie cut, which I did not have in I did have a headshot for it, but I don't know if I had a headshot for that when I booked that, right? I just threw on a
Mhm.
wig because I felt like my version of the cop wanted to be a short pixie. Or, like, there
Mhm.
have been times when I've, like, rocked long blonde because I felt like she was giving that. And I don't have any, like, long blonde headshot. So I feel like
Mhm.
now people are understanding more and more that Black women do change their hair. So it is
Mhm.
okay. So I would say, eh, have the headshot in the hair that best represents you, that best represents your essence. And then if you
Mhm.
do want to, like, pivot for an audition, don't be afraid to, like, throw on a wig or tie your hair back, or do whatever for that particular audition. For instance, I spoke to Susan Kelechi Watson, who was on This Is Us, about her
Mhm.
auditioning for the show. And she was like, she auditioned in box braids. She didn't have no headshot with no box braids. She booked it though, right? And, and she
Yeah.
booked it without being a name at that point. So, like, I
Mhm.
really feel like we do have some flexibility. Now it's just going to be on you as the actor to determine, what's gonna, is my curly hair gonna, like, just show my brightness? Do I feel most confident in straight hair?
Yeah.
And also, like, what am I likely to be booking more of? Like, what puts me in the realm of the type of actor character that the world is likely going to see me in, or the type of character that I want to be seen in.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really love that. And to add on, I think another thing that I'm finding in my experience is that, it is really important to advocate for yourself. Like,
Yes.
let's say you book a job, and let's say if I walked into the audition room with these braids in my hair and I booked the job, I'm like, okay, we do need to have a conversation about hair. And if
That.
you do not want these braids, we need to have a conversation about that, because I think that a lot of creative teams, miss the fact that as Black women, we often know if it's period, we're not doing box braids. Like,
Mhm.
we get that. But
Yeah.
if that is your expectation, we do need to have a conversation about that, because
Yeah.
box braids aren't cheap. And if I have to take them out, especially before they were time to come out, we need to have a conversation
Oh,
about that.
100%. Listen, that this conversation comes up all the time with people, whether it's casting directors, or costume designers, or whoever, assuming that because you wore box braids in the audition, or, first rehearsal, like, that's what you're going to maintain, or whatever. Like, they just have
Right.
assumptions without having the conversation. And I'm always telling um designers, you need to have the conversation by first rehearsal, if not before. And I would say to the actor, if they have not had the conversation with you by first rehearsal, and definitely if it's gotten to the end of the week and you know
Hmm.
that your hair is going to be a thing, you initiate the conversation, because if not, you're
Yes.
going to be left. It's going to be some issues. It's going to be,
Yes.
there's going to be something at the end, and somebody's not going to be happy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I fully agree with that. I have two more questions for you.
Mhm.
The first, I would love to know from you, do you have a favorite hair memory? As I was watching Jaja's, my brain was just flooded with memories of me getting my hair done at various stages of my life. And I feel like I have a little bit of a hair story here from when I was, a little girl all the way up until now. My hair has changed in so many different ways, and the ways I used to wear my hair, like in high school, are very different than how I wear my hair now, and it brought
Yeah.
up a lot of memories for me. So, do you have a favorite hair memory that you can share?
It's funny. I don't know if I have a favorite hair memory of my own hair. I definitely have the memory of my grandmother teaching me how to braid, and like me trying to at like around like 9 or 10 years old trying to braid my little cousin's hair and me asking my grandmother to teach me. And then jump to my grandmother being like in a wheelchair and like, pretty old, and me going to her house and washing and curling her hair for her. Like I think
Mhm.
I think that's what again what Jaja's makes me think of in terms of like ancestry and lineage, and how one thing is passed down to another
Mhm.
person, and how grandma, you've taught me to care for somebody, and now I'm taking that and I am now, giving it back to you. Like the care you've given me, I'm giving to you. So I say my favorite memory is her teaching me and then me being able to give that back to her.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Listen, grandmothers are so special.
Yeah.
We thank God for them. Like that is so beautiful. I
Yes,
love that.
absolutely.
Yes, and I would my final question for you. I would love to know. You said hair conversations. I think you said it was called. That's
Yeah.
coming up soon. Are there any other things that you're working on that we should know about, and how can we connect with you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have, or I was recurring or am recurring. I don't know what it is, but on season 3 of Power Book 3 Raising Canaan. So that starts
Yes.
December 1st. But I think
Hmm.
I start a couple episodes in, so you can look out for that. And you can catch me on Instagram if you like. I have two. One is Nikiya Mathis, Nikiya Mathis. Well, our Black Treasures, OUR_BLACK_TRESS.
Listen, I will make sure it's all written out the
Okay.
exact way that it
Thank
is.
you.
No, I was really impressed because I cannot spell out loud. That's why I never succeeded in a spelling bee because I was like, wait, what? Like I need to
Exactly.
be able to see it on the paper.
Exactly. I'm trying to read it in my mind. It wasn't working.
I just want to thank you so much for your time. I really loved having
Yes.
this conversation with you, and I
Me
can't wait to see
too.
more of your work and your creativity. Thank you for all that you're doing. Can't wait to
Thank
see more.
you. Yes, absolutely. And I can't wait for us to work together or just sit and commune together again. Like, I'm proud of what you're doing. Thank you for doing it, like, for highlighting us, and definitely keep doing it. Like, even when it gets hard, know it's meaningful.
Thank you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
You got it.